And we're here again. It's always good to be back, man. I don't know. Um uh Sometimes I forget how um inspiring recording is. Because one, it I don't want to say it forced me, but it allows me to kind of assume my creative self in order to have these conversations. And this one is maybe a day or two late, but I don't even want to blame myself. I feel like I've blamed myself the last few times. This one, I've just been having technical difficulties, and I'm trying to overcome that. Uh, we'll see if we can make it through this recording. I had started one and then it stopped, but here we are. Um, we'll start it off how we always start off our these conversations with an episode in or an exercise in mindfulness. Starting now, focusing on your breath. 10 seconds, 10 breaths. And we're here. I usually follow that up with a puzzle, and I have one for you today. What can be swallowed, but can also swallow you? What can be swallowed, but can also swallow you? And as you think through that, I want to start off today's conversation, um, which is interesting. Like I said, the semester is starting for our students, and I'm excited to reconnect with the idea of creativity in a more structured way, innovation, design in a more structured way. But to be honest, I love to be around new energy, especially creative energy, and I'm looking forward to that. And as we prep for the semester, one of the things I want to say 2 weeks ago, I sent out the pre-semester exercise or assignment, and just this week, I sent out the a kind of a something to kind of get their minds going, and it was specifically about self-reflection. And I feel like whatever. So I teach capstone, and in capstone it culminates everything they've learned throughout the entire collegiate career. It culminates in this class where they build. Um, they come up with a project idea. It could be a company, it could be a service, it could be a product, whatever that is. But I believe that whatever you create is directly connected to you, and it gives insight to a version of you, and that's the beauty of creativity because it's a personal experience. And I wanted them going into the last week before school starts or the semester starts to spend time doing some self-reflection. And from in my own journey, I've had to do this multiple times. And one of the things that I always say, it's uh, being a founder, a creator, a designer, any individual that has to create something. It takes some level of self-awareness, self-reflection to understand like who am I and how am I connected to this thing that I'm trying to build or I'm building, right? And for a lot of us, it's an uncomfortable conversation because what gives us the right to feel like or that we have within us or we are capable or it is on us to kind of build this thing that could possibly change the world. Um, and a huge part of that reflection is understanding what your purpose is. And I've said it here and I've said it publicly, I've said it on numerous platforms that I believe that your true purpose is a selfless act. It is an act that is greater than yourself, and it is something that not only you benefit from, but the world benefit from. But you benefit from it indirectly but it's a gift to the world. And knowing myself enough, and the experiences that I've had, I've come to the conclusion that my purpose is to inspire people, inspire in general, to be an inspiration. And as over time and just self-reflection and becoming more self-aware, I realized that I am not, Swale is not the source of inspiration. It's my physical, who I am as a person, in a bubble, is not inspiration alone. What I realize is people are inspired by my creativity, but not only what I create. I think it's more so that it comes from me, and it almost feels like I normalize creativity, and that in itself is inspiring to most, because one of the things that I always, when I talk to people, I always say this: as much as I feel like you're coming to me to try to help you connect to your creativity, in conversations, I take so much from those conversations and from you, as a person, and as you are finding your creativity, I can see it, and in return, I benefit from that. So I've always believed that creativity begets creativity. Whenever I need to feel inspired, I chase creativity. Sometimes it's my own creativity, and sometimes it's the creativity of others, their creation. And what I realize is, in those moments when I am appreciating creativity in whatever capacity, I am my most inspired, and it almost kind of it brings to life the art of the possible, right? I think a lot of the times we have these mental blocks and limitations that unconsciously, or we aren't aware that they exist. It's almost like we see the world from the lens of what has been done before, as opposed to what can be done. I used to say this thing: it's like, my gift is my ability to see the world not as it is, but more so what it could be, or better yet, what it should be. And one of the things that triggers that is just being exposed to creativity. And I think, going back to the point I was making earlier, a lot of the times when people come to me and they want to reconnect with their creativity, there's just things that happen where I there's a journey through self-awareness, there's self-reflection, and as you're going through that process, one of the things that I always suggest, and I do this with my students too at the university, is I would ask them, when's the last time they felt inspired? And then I would then ask them, what was that moment like? Where was the source of this inspiration? And it'll always be something or someone else or somewhere. And in that same breath, in that same conversation, I would also ask them, do they think they themselves are amazing creatives? And you'll get mixed responses. And over time, I've learned that us as creatives, we tend to shy away from celebrating ourselves. And then in doing so, it almost prevents unintentionally the ability for us to inspire our own selves, because we don't even feel comfortable championing ourselves, and celebrating ourselves, and celebrating the works that we've done, the amazing art that we've created. So a lot of the times, what I would tell either my students or individuals who come to me trying to seek their creativity, I tell them, go look at the work you've done before. And you'd be surprised, because there's this thing that happens for us creative. We constantly want to create. We constantly want to innovate. And for a lot of us, we are our toughest critics, right? And we can always do better. And I think if we shift the narrative to not being, oh, you are a perfectionist, or you're your toughest critic, to something more along the lines of, when I see my work, I get inspired to be even more creative. When I see my work, I see it for what it is, and also what it could potentially be. And each time I look at it, I am re-inspired. And that inspiration allows me to come up with even more creative ideas and creative possibilities. And I honestly believe that if we were to approach it like that, then we're not so hard on ourselves, and we take away this negative feeling associated with it. I think creativity itself is inspiring, and I seek that. I seek that in people. I seek that in works of art. When I say works of art, I don't mean in a traditional sense. In anything that has been created. And I love to have conversations. And I don't know. I was talking to a cousin of mine, a musical artist, and he's created amazing works of art. And I had there's a song he created, and he did it a long time ago, and for some reason it's been catching on and culturally, where you'd have like in schools they're singing the songs, and when they're having like singing song and dance competitions, people will go ahead and start like playing this particular song, just to take away the anonymity of it. The artist is Asiatic, and the song is Play That Music. And I randomly, because we communicate. He's my first cousin, so we talk a lot. And I had asked him, take me back to the moment you recorded this record. And I wanted to ask him, one, immediately after recording, did he know what he had? And he said no, he didn't. Then I asked him, tell me the story of the lead up to it. And he tells the story, and in that story itself, it was inspiring. And his creative process was so interesting and fascinating that it inspired me, and it triggered ideas in my head to one, how can we share this story on a broader scale, in hopes that it inspires not only other artists, music artists, but other creatives in general, right, or people in general. And that led into multiple different conversations. But I think we undervalue the beauty that exists in creativity and how inspiring it can be. And we live in a world where it's almost faux pas to get inspiration from other creatives. And I've always believed imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But we live in an era where stealing ideas and remixing and revamping is almost frowned upon, and it feels like a knock on your creative process and your creative journey. But listen, inspiration comes from anywhere and anything, and I feel like one of the greatest gifts of creativity is the fact that it can inspire. And inspiration allows for innovation. Inspiration allows for the demolition of these boundaries that exist, that limit us from being almost superhuman, right? I think our minds are powerful tools, but society has put blinders and roadblocks and governors and all of these things that limit our ability to think outside of what is normal. And I think the only way to overcome that is exposing yourself to as much creative work, as much creative works, and as much creative people as possible. And if we continue to kind of explore this idea of finding creativity, recycling creativity, giving creativity, and getting back creativity, we live in a world where there aren't any creative limitations. It's a free flow, an exchange of creativity, and it'll happen in every moment, right? So in every conversation, in every appreciation of art, every appreciation of creations in general, right? Any creative work will do two things. It will tell a story, and it'll also inspire the next story. And once that cycle starts, it's never ending. And I want that to be how we approach creativity as we move forward. From this point forward, see creativity as a source of inspiration, and any creativity, your own, the creative works of others, because that'll inspire the next set of creative works. The future of creativity is dependent on the creativity that exists in the now. There is no future creativity if there isn't an appreciation and inspiration that is gotten from the creativity that exists today. And I don't want to, I guess, prolong this. I always say this. I feel like there's a lot more I want to talk about when it comes to this particular topic, but I don't want to overcomplicate it. I want us to be conscious of the fact that we are, when we are creative, we inspire creativity. When we appreciate creative works, we introduce an idea that one, it wasn't made in vain, and then two, there's something that happens within us, that a seed is planted, and then creative work comes from that as well. So I think that's how we should end today. Again, creativity begets creativity. If ever you feel uninspired, unmotivated, try to find creative people, try to find creative work, and you'd be surprised of how inspired you leave those experiences. I will end how we started, and what can be swallowed but can also swallow you. What can be swallowed but can also swallow you? And the answer is your pride. With that said, go be great.